Hi, this is Brendan from A13, and in this tutorial we take a look at a student named Stephen Jones who has just completed the Q-Safe driving assessment for Class C. Stephen is an Australian by birth. He is a manual C-Class licence applicant, and the location of his test is Cairns. The time of day of his driving test is 8 AM, and that is his assessment number. On the left of the screen you can see the driver assessment report form. Up the top we have his details. As we work down on the left we have the specific driving situations that the examiner took him in. To the right of that we have section B, which is the manoeuvres that he conducted, and that is the U-turn and the reversing exercise. And then if we work down the bottom left we can see the pre-drive checks that the examiner selected: mirrors, washers, air conditioning and seat adjustment. On the right of that we have vehicle operation, and we can see that there's a non-critical driving error for clutch control. Then down a little bit more we've got 3 errors on gears, and then we go to the bottom right we can see hazard recognition and decision making. There's 1 error for observation and scanning, non-critical, and 2 errors for judgment. Now what I'm going to do is go through the appraisal that the examiner has written. I've retyped it on the right of screen so you can see it in case you can't read the examiner's, let's say, handwriting. Okay, inappropriate gear for situation, coasted in neutral for 4 seconds, attempted to change gear without using the clutch, late scanning, stops appropriately but when presented with a safe gap in traffic does not proceed, give way unnecessarily to another road user. So let's take a look at Stephen and what the outcome was of his assessment. First of all, we want to know, was he successful or not in the test? How many non-critical driving errors he made? How many critical driving errors he made? How many specific repeated driving errors he made, and how many general critical driving errors he made. If you're not sure what those definitions stand for of the error types, please see another YouTube video that I've done on the types of errors, and that'll make it a lot easier to understand this section. So the first error he got was a non-critical for observation and scanning. In the Q-Safe test, the learner should scan, observe and monitor the driving environment in every direction as appropriate to the driving task. Here we can see a driver going down the road, and we've got the front, the back, the right and left mirror and the right and left shoulder, also known as head checks. And scanning means the driver takes in the whole scene 360 degrees around the vehicle. Drivers must be looking out for hazards on the road. A hazard can be any possible source of danger on or near the road that could lead to a crash, and it can come from any direction. It could be a child chasing a ball onto the road, parked car door opening, vehicle merging into your lane or stopping suddenly in front of you, slippery road surface after rain. It's important to use a scanning routine. That includes scanning 12 seconds up ahead in the road, checking your mirrors every 8 to 10 seconds, and check your blind spot with a head check, also known as a shoulder check, before you turn or diverge. Keep your eyes on the move and use your peripheral vision. If we have this animal like a kangaroo or a dog, we want to try and capture them as early as possible in our vision to give us time to respond safely. It's important to prioritize your hazards. Trainers should teach learners to apply the concept of a driving plan. A driving plan will assist a learner to anticipate hazards, order hazards in importance, and decide what action to take. Apply the system of vehicle control. By correct application of the system, the vehicle will always be in the correct place on the road, traveling at the correct speed, with the correct gear engaged. Judgment. There were 2 non-critical errors for judgment on the report form. The applicant should make a correct decision and respond appropriately with regard to judgment of the speed and distance of any traffic or pedestrian. We can see the car going down the road, and we can see a pedestrian. There's a situation there where there's some unknowns, so the driver would have to respond safely to that situation of where exactly is that jogger heading. Okay, let's take a look at our performance outcome for judgment. The applicant should judge and utilize a safe gap in the traffic when lane changing without causing other road users to take evasive action. So in this diagram, we can see that vehicle A has overtaken vehicle B. But oncoming was vehicle C. So the driver of vehicle A has to make sure that there's sufficient space to get around vehicle B without causing any evasive action requirement from vehicle C. In this situation, we can see a merging where the broken line stops, and it's basically a zipper situation where it would be B and then A and then C, because B wouldn't be crossing a broken line and their nose is in front. So B would go first, A and then C. A common non-critical driving error is does not judge appropriately the speed and distance of other vehicles in merging situations. So again, we have to put in here our buffer zones around the vehicle and manage our space appropriately without tailgating or anything like that. This one, the broken line continues all the way along. So in this case, vehicles B and C need to give way to vehicle A. So vehicle A would come through, and then if safe, B and C would indicate, mirror, shoulder check, and move across when safe. So a common non-critical driving error does not judge appropriately the speed and distance of other vehicles in merging situations. In this situation, we've got vehicle A taking a left turn and must make sure that there's sufficient space with the oncoming vehicle. So a common non-critical error in turning situations is does not judge appropriately the speed and distance of other vehicles while negotiating intersections. Common non-critical driving errors stops appropriately, but when presented with a safe gap in the traffic does not proceed. That's one of Stephen's errors. Stops in a situation where there are no vehicles or pedestrians present and it is clear to proceed. Gives way unnecessarily to another road user. That is incorrect application of the give way rule. There were 3 non-critical errors for gears. The performance outcome as expected by the driving examiner on this component is that the applicant should demonstrate correct usage of all the gears appropriate for speed, vehicle, and driving conditions. Clutch coasting. We had 1 non-critical driving error on the assessment for that. In the Q-Safe test, the learner should control the clutch in a manner that produces a smooth take-up of power to the driving wheels and assists in changing gears. The student will receive a non-critical driving error during the test if they excessively and continuously ride the clutch, rest their foot on the clutch when not being operated for more than 15 seconds, release the clutch too quickly, coast with clutch depressed prior to or during a turn, coast with clutch depressed for between 3 to 5 seconds, fail to use the clutch in an appropriate manner to maintain control at low speeds, for example, during heavy slow-moving traffic and reversing maneuvers, operate the clutch incorrectly. Let's go back to Stephen's report form. Now the arrow in green points to the test result, so Stephen was actually successful. If we go down to the red arrows down the bottom, we can see that there's 1 error for clutch coasting, 3 for gears, 1 error for observation and scanning, and 2 for judgment. So he got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 errors. He would be successful because he hasn't made any critical errors, any specific repeated errors, or any general critical driving errors, and it would be an unsuccessful result for Stephen if he had 9 non-critical driving errors or more. So you've got 8 errors, so he had 1 more up his sleeve. Well done, Stephen. Thanks for watching. This has been Brendan from Watto Training.